Let me have a real important conversation with you guys today. Oh my goodness, the lighting is terrible. Sorry about that. Uh, okay, that's better. All right, let me have a really important conversation with you guys. You guys need to know that what is going on, and you're not being told everything. There is some very bad stuff on its way, and I've been warning you guys about that. So I just want you guys to hear me out, kind of take a listen to what I'm talking about, and then you make your own choices after that, okay? But the truth of the matter is, and I just got a report recently, I was looking at it while I was preparing for this, is that the Feds actually have a negative balance sheet, okay? Negative balance sheet. I'm going to talk about Forex and all that stuff, but I want to kind of talk to you guys first about what I'm seeing that's very alarming. Okay. What is happening is the Feds have reported, and you can look this up yourself, that they have a negative balance sheet, which means the Feds are going broke, and the banks are also going broke. And so therefore, what I'm suggesting you, well, let me rephrase that because I'm not a financial advisor, so I can't give financial advice, but I'm just sharing with you what I'm doing. What I'm doing is preparing just in case there is a financial fallout that the public is not aware of. What that means is that just imagine you go to the ATM machine and they won't let you take no money out. Just imagine you go to the bank and they're saying, well, there's only so much money you can take out. They're limiting the funds. That's called a bank run. Okay. A bank run is where people finally are catching on to the fact that something is wrong and they want to get their money out of the bank. So what do? They'll go to the bank and try to pull it out. Problem is, most people wait to the last minute. They wait till a crisis happens, and then they do, as I taught my students, those who are my students in class, I taught you guys about the term called the herd mentality. The herd mentality simply means most people only take action when they see a bunch of other people taking action at the same time. Okay. So in other words, you can present information to them, but they won't make a move until they see somebody else doing it. And then when somebody else is doing it, and there's a bunch of people doing it, there's a problem because now everybody's doing it at the same time. And that creates an issue that you could have avoided. Okay. Hear me real good on this. I don't want to be a part of the herd. When I get information, I take action. Okay. When they said that there was a Hurricane Ian on the way, I took action. I had already evacuated myself long before they said you need to evacuate. I don't wait for everybody else to take action because then you run into situations such as what you saw in the Florida area and also in the South Carolina area. Okay, here's what I'm trying to share with you guys, and then I'll get back to Forex talk. But as your uncle, I really need to just let you know there's some bad stuff on the way. Students, I've been telling you this for the longest, but reports are coming out, and now the Feds have come out saying that their balance sheet is in the negative. When the federal government's balance sheet is in the negative, that is a problem. Oh, my money is insured by the FDIC. Okay, that's fine. But who's the FDIC? The government. So if their bank account is broke and they're trying to insure your bank account, how is that possible? Do you understand what I'm saying here? Now, again, I'm not a financial genius. I'm not one of those things. I'm just, as my family members and people who tune into my channel, and for those who will be watching this video later, all I'm telling you is that be careful and be prepared. What I am telling you is that it's already happening, and what I've got reports from, the situation is already happening in about 7 other countries where people are trying to go in and get their money out of the banks, and they're not able to do it. Okay. Thank you, Derek. You're correct. He just so you guys know, I'm reading comments here, and Derek said you warned us a long time ago. I surely did. I don't say a whole lot because oftentimes when you're the person trying to say or warn people of a crisis, you tend to get labeled as a conspiracy theorist and all these kind of things, which those who know me dear, you know I can care less about a conspiracy theory, okay? But when data and facts are presented, it's not a conspiracy theory. The facts are the facts. And when these facts are being presented, I learn to take action quickly rather than hesitate. So what does this all mean for you? And then I'll get back to what I'm really supposed to be doing this video about, which is Forex. What does that mean for you? What I'm doing, my wife and I, we're just simply preparing. You know, we're taking some money out of the bank and have some cash on hand. Okay? Think about it. For an example, if for any reason there's a blackout, which had happened down in the Florida and South Carolina, other areas. If there's a blackout and you can't access the computer to do this or do that, how do you gain access to your goods and to your money? So it's nice to have tangible money on hand so you can barter with people and do what you need to do in case of an emergency. What happens if the banks say you can't pull money out? Let me give you a better example. Okay, this is happening as we speak. For some of you guys, you wonder why I stopped using PayPal so much. I'm no longer with new customers. If you already have an account with us, we still, you're on PayPal, that's fine. But new customers, you'll notice that we don't have it on our website anymore. The reason why, it's not because we don't like the customer. PayPal did the same thing with many business owners. And some of you guys as customers, you don't know this, but as business owners, what happened was they was taking business owners' money and just taking it for months, locking us completely out of our accounts. So there's a mass lawsuit against PayPal. See, you, the customer, don't know that. See, you don't know. But if you were the business owner using them, if you had large amounts of money in your accounts, PayPal was literally freezing your accounts for 6 months with no legitimate reason for doing so. And now it's coming out that they possibly had a liquidity issue and they were finding sneaky ways to hold people's money. And then after 6 months, they'll give you back your money with no excuse, no reason, no rhyme or reason. And they were not doing this with small accounts. They were doing it with people who had big accounts with big funds in it. And there's numerous people who reported this. You can look this up yourself, but it actually happened to me. So just imagine you have worked hard for your funds and all of a sudden they just freeze you out and you can't access your own money. That's pretty scary. But if you had and thank God that I had cash on hand in case of situations like that. Now, you say, well, that's just PayPal and that was for businesses. Well, here's the deal. If the banks are storing cash at the Federal Reserve in preparation for an economic collapse and the feds are broke and out of money, do you think it's time for you to start making decisions now, or you want to trust what may possibly happen later? And all of this is data that you can look up for yourself. That's why I said I'm not a conspiracy theorist. I don't believe in that crap myself. But when data and facts are presented, you have to make choices to protect you and your family. And that's what I'm choosing to do. And I'm presenting this to you guys because this is very important information. Now, you stack on top of that inflation is out of control. Interest rates are constantly being pushed higher and higher and higher, which is crashing a lot of these companies. The higher, let me give it to you guys like this. The higher they raise interest rates, the worse it's going to be for companies because the companies run off of debt, okay? Have you ever heard that term OPM, other people's money? Okay. Do you hear what I'm saying? The banks are using other people's money to do investments, to do loans and everything else. It is not their money, it's yours, the money you put in. But now if they lose that money, guess what? Then they typically can have some bailouts by the federal government. But if the federal government is broke, then guess what? Are you understanding? And whose money did they start with? Other people's money. Who's the other people? You and I. Trusting that the banks are going to be safe. If you don't believe me, go look on the news. And then I think it's Europe and other countries. The people are rioting and having a fit right now because exactly what I'm explaining to you is already happening over there. Matter of fact, take a look at, I'm sorry about this bouncing lighting situation. Sorry about that. Go take a look at what just happened in Europe or London or whatever it was. They literally had days away before their 401ks and IRAs were going to be wiped out, not once, but twice. And yep, there you go. Thanks, Mike. Mike said it's in China now. Okay. And not only that, I got a report, and it could be verify yourself. Okay. I don't care. I just look at information, but they said that, okay, we already bailed you out twice, but we ain't doing it again. So if the problem has not been resolved and they're still coming back talking about they're not going to help you the next go round, which if the problem ain't resolved, what did that mean? It's probably going to happen again. But this time we're not going to bail you out. What happens to all those people who had their 401ks and IRAs tied to that situation? You just worked all your life, worked real hard, trusting that your money would be safe, and it's gone like a thief in the night. Are you guys understanding what I'm saying? The banks are out there leveraging your money, OPM. Write this term down if you never heard it. OPM. It's called other people's money. The other people's money is you. You are the other people. And then let's go one step further, and this is what you can look up for yourself. They talk about a term, bail-in, and I'm just giving you terms so you guys can kind of know this stuff. Okay, which, by the way, I was supposed to be talking about our signals results last week. We did almost 20,000 pips last week between the signals and the scalping group. So congratulations, signals group, on that. Okay, but let me get back to this. So there's a term that you guys need to know. Look it up for yourself. The banks back in 2007, 2008, or whatever that was, where the banks had to be bailed out by the federal government. Okay, that was called a bailout. In other words, they used whose money? Taxpayers' money. Notice what this OPM is all about. OPM, don't forget this, other people's money. Rich people get rich by not using their money. They use other people's money. They get loans so that they keep their risk very minimal, because they're not using their own money. Now, when they make profits, they put it into their personal pocket, but to get started, they started with somebody else's money. So the money that's at risk is somebody else's. Who's the somebody else? Yours. Did you hear what I said? They go to the bank, who really don't start off with their own money. They start with deposits. Who's putting the deposits in? You and I. So they loan this money out to all these different people who have these corporations, and these people who have corporations, they're supposed to pay the loan back, which puts the money back into the coffers of the bank. What happens if these companies who borrow your money can't pay it back to the bank? And then the bank goes to the federal government, who is also using your money, called tax money, and they are broke. Who ends up losing in the end? Do you hear what I'm saying? All this juggling of funds was going on with other people's money. And when we hear that term, we're not putting together that the OPM, other people's money, is actually your money. Well, my money is insured by the FDIC. I think the FDIC only can insure several billion. But if you really do your homework and look, between all of the customers who's putting deposits into the bank, last report I heard, that equals up to, I think, several trillions, $18 trillion of deposits between customers, meaning you and I putting our money in the banks, $18 trillion worth. But the feds can only insure 1% or 10% of that. So that means 90% are going to be, you understand what I'm saying? You're going to be out. Nothing. Now, here's where does this come from? There's a term that they use now, which is called, back then it was called a bailout, where the government will come in, use your money, OPM, your tax money, and bail the banks out, and everything keeps the machine going. Everybody's fine. Now they're saying, nope, we're not doing that anymore. You're going to have to do what's called a bail-in. Bail-in, this is very important. Bail-in is different. It means that now we can use the creditors. And this is what is really, really tingling, really, really bothersome. Who are the creditors who's going to have to cover the losses? The creditors are the people who's depositing their money into these bank accounts. So if there's a bank failure, they can go to the creditors, and there you are. Who's the creditor? You and I. Are you hearing what I'm saying? I hope this is kind of making sense to you guys. Again, I'm just trying to, I know I'm supposed to be always talking about Forex, but I have a great concern, and I've been talking, if you're my student, you know, goodness, well, I've been warning you guys with more information as much as I can without getting myself censored, banned, or for misinformation, all this kind of foolishness. In other words, that's another mechanism for them to shut up the people who wants to warn the population that there's a problem on hand. Meanwhile, they'll squeak out the information at their own pace. In other words, they don't want you knowing more than what you should at the pace that they decide you should know it. Let me repeat that again. The problem is, and this is all about censorship, that's all it's basically about. Just like PayPal, they came out saying, well, you know, if we find that you're distributing misinformation, we'll charge you $2,500 to your account. Say again. And then they had to retract it. This is all in the news. because what is going on, there's a bad situation on its way, and they only want the public to know it at the pace that they want the public to know it. You're not supposed to know too much too soon, or else you're going to take action. And this is where they're concerned about, which is called bank runs, where everybody wakes up and everybody runs to the bank trying to get their money out, and now they say no, you can't, which is happening in other countries. That's that herd mentality I was telling you about. When everybody wakes up to what the real truth is, it's a little too late, because now they got their policies in place and they say no, you can't pull this money out, or you can only pull out X amount of dollars, and now you have complete chaos in that area. You can literally see this happening as we speak in several countries, and last I heard, it's happening in about 7 countries so far. Now here in the US, we say, well, that's over there, those people over there. But it's actually on its way here. We just have a way of being able to print money and sneak around doing things so that, we can kind of hold off the masses. But the truth of the matter is, a storm is coming, people. And then you add in the fact, and this is really troublesome, that Belarus is joining the war against Ukraine, and now they're moving tanks and other things close to the border of NATO, which means if NATO has to get involved, we are literally sitting at World War III. So you take in the worst economic disaster that we could have, it's a slow burn, but it's one of the biggest financial crises in our lifetime that's trickling in, because they're still telling people, oh, we might be entering into recession. The truth of the data already shows we are in a recession. See how the narrative to make sure you only get enough information a little bit at a time. Oh, well, if we go into recession, you're in one now. You're in it. Okay. So you're in a recession. You add in World War III, you add in that the banks are going broke, you add in that the federal government's broke. Are you hearing what I'm saying? Let me say one more thing on this, and let me get back to what you guys need to know as far as for trading this week with news events. But just I'm putting you on game so that you can make some decisions to protect your family and not go by what at the slow rate of what they want you to know, but that's the facts that are literally out there for you to look up, verify for yourself, and see. Let me say this in closing. One of the things that I'm trying to do is just give you heads up warning so that, guess what? And by the way, students, did I not in last week's class show you guys at least 6 or 7 photos of where my wife and I went into Walmart, and literally sections of the grocery store was completely empty? I did that in class. If you're not my student, I'm sorry. You should join the Simplicity system. The classes are free. You don't have to pay for them. It's a one-time fee for the system. Classes are free, and you can get some knowledge so you can really know what's going on. So then when you're looking at these charts, all of this story makes sense. It's all tied together. You're trying to constantly go by price action, price action, price action, but the price action is acting off of a certain catalyst. Something is triggering the price to act the way it does. Notice price action. No, it's an action that is happening on that price. And there's triggers and things that's happening right around you that you're not being able to put the story together to see, okay, why is this market going this way or that way? So you're not able to put the story together. So you're constantly missing out on pieces. And that's part of the reason why you're not successful in your trading career, because you don't have the whole story. But the banks and institutions, they do. So they put the whole story together, fundamental information along with market action, and then they take action. That's why they're wealthy, and the average retail trader is not. You're constantly just trying to mark your charts without understanding the story behind the price action. So when markets start spiking in certain directions after you take your trade, you're just thinking, oh my God, the market hates me. It has nothing to do with you. They don't even care about you. There's a story behind it, and stuff is happening rapidly, and you are unaware. And if you're that unaware when you're trading Forex, how much more unaware are you to protect your family by the time all hell hits the fan? You're unaware. The Bible says, my people are destroyed for the lack of knowledge. Knowledge means information. You don't have enough information, and you're trying to act like you do. And you don't know what you're doing because you don't have the right information. Do you hear what I'm saying? And I'm telling you, the middle class and poor are getting in a bad situation that's going to go worse and worse and worse because you don't know this information. And they're counting on you not knowing it. And anybody who tries to tell you this information, they're going to label you and try to censor you and try to penalize you to shut you up because they don't want the general public to know the information more faster than what they decide you should get it at. So they're giving you little dribbles of story, little dribbles of it at their own pace so that you don't quickly take action. Why? Because they're counting on one thing. What did I teach you? Herd mentality. If everybody understands it and grasps what is really wrong, everybody would go and start taking action immediately. But if we keep most of the people in the dark, and label those who really know the truth, label them as a conspiracy theorist or crazy or this and that. We label them to control them and their voice so nobody believes them, and we'll just dribble out a little at a time. Then at that time, by the time it happens, you didn't take any action. And let me give you an example. And I know this is way off course and I'm going to shut up before they get me, but here's the truth. Watch this. Here's a fine example. Remember, loved one, remember just a little while ago, wasn't they saying that this inflation is what's the term? Transitory. You remember that they kept repeating, oh, inflation, this is transitory. In other words, don't worry about it. Not that big of a deal. It's just coming and going. It's just a temporary situation. Y'all remember that? Do you remember that? That's what they said to the public, and everybody bought it. And now you can't go into the financial industry, into these markets without hearing what? Inflation. We got to bring inflation down. We got to bring inflation down. It's a roaring fire. Inflation. See, back then it was already a fire, but they controlled how much information you got about it so that you wouldn't panic. Meanwhile, your prices were increasing, your rent increased. Are you hearing what I'm saying? Your energy bills, your water bills, everything about your life was increasing the whole time, but they kept telling you it was transitory. Why? Because as long as we keep you dumbed down and calm, we just want you to be calm. We just want you to be calm. Meanwhile, people like me are saying, man, this ain't transitory. Man, this thing is a problem. And now, oh, yeah, well, you know, inflation is high and we're just working, and they use these little fancy terms to still try to keep you, you know, calm and everything else. Meanwhile, the fire is broiling out of control. And now it's so bad until they have to raise interest rates, which they're probably going to have to do again. And they're raising them so fast and so quick until it's actually causing a crash in other currencies around the world. Because they lied and didn't do what they should have, and now the lie is over and they can't hide it anymore. This is why some of these currencies, and I wish I was on the charts, and I did show my students this last week. I showed you in class, I showed you, look at how the dollar is shooting up, but look at every currency that's going against the dollar, how it's collapsing. These are real countries' economies that are being collapsed because the higher the dollar go, the more US dollars it takes for other countries to do their transactions in dollars to pay their bills. So the higher the dollar goes and the interest goes up, the more they have to fork out from what they originally had. Let me give it to you like this. Just imagine you had to pay your rent, but your landlord just told you, oh, I'm going up on rent by $500. You said, what? I don't have $500. Don't matter. You better pay the extra $500 on top of what you normally was paying, or else you get evicted. That's what's going on with these other countries. They were already strapped for cash, and now by the Feds raising up the interest rates and the dollar increasing in value over their own currency, and they're trying to do transactions through the standard of the dollar, it's causing them to pay more than what they could have afforded in the first place. And as a result, now you're seeing these collapses around the world. And you think that there's not going to be an equal recourse against the US? Absolutely it is. This is why several countries are now collaborating to create their own currency and put it back on the gold standard to get us away from the dollar. If that actually happens, what do you think happens to the dollar, the king of currency? Oh, we're getting pretty good. But that's all rainbow in the sky. Of course, I don't know what I'm talking about. Who cares? It's just a black boy with a baseball hat upside his head talking like he an economic genius, and he is not, and I'm not. I just know I look at information and I take action. What am I saying to you? It would be nice and wise if you, for an example, had some extra cash and instead of trying to buy those fancy Jordans and all these different things. See, thank you very much. Thank you, Mike. See, he confirmed. See, people who are in my class, they know I'll tell you this. It's not just teaching you charts. I'm trying to help you protect your family. This is a critical situation. Some of these places, they're out of food. Some of these places are out of power. I just read a report, or heard the report this morning that some countries are now using their own trash to burn as fuel and energy. They never would have thought they were in that situation, but they are now. Are you hearing what I'm saying? So in conclusion, let me shut my mouth on this before they come and hunt me down. And I like having a quiet, peaceful life. But let me just share this with you. What would I do, Uncle P, with all this information? That sounds real interesting. What does that mean for the average person? Well, here's what it means. Instead of you going out to go buy the next pair of Jordans or that fancy bougie purse that just looks like an ordinary purse, but then you paying $1,000 for it because it slaps somebody's label on it, when you can get the knockoff version made by the same manufacturer, but it just won't have the label on it. Okay. They used to have a term called label horse, label horse. They just got to have the label, or else they don't feel like they're important if they don't have the label, even though it's the same handbag, same red bottom shoe, but it was made by the same manufacturing plant, but it just didn't have the label on it. But you don't feel like it's quality unless the label is on it, because you have to prove to everybody that you bougie and you got it like that. Okay, well, do you? But I promise you, in times of a stress recession and times when the truth actually comes out and all hell possibly breaks loose, ain't nobody gonna care about your red bottoms and that raggedy purse. Because what you should have did with that money was put some cash on the sidelines so that you'll have a reserve on hand in case the banks go on a lockdown. Which, by the way, this actually happened. Where did this just happen? Oh my God, I can't remember. It literally just happened the other day, about a week ago. Search on the news. There was a country where the banks had actually got zapped. And people couldn't go online. They couldn't go anywhere and get their money. I forgot what it was. It was, oh God, Lee, I wish I had that in front of me. You can look it up though. It literally happened. What if your bank just went offline? Oh, that was in China? Mike said it was in China. No, it wasn't just China. It was another place as well. It was another place as well, Mike. I can't remember who it is, but it went offline, which means you couldn't access your money. It didn't matter how much money you had. You couldn't access it. What are you going to do then? You going to eat up on that red bottom shoes? You going to snack up on that leather purse with the label of Louis on it? Are you hearing what I'm saying? Well, see, I do everything online. Okay, that's fine. That's fine. See, I'm not here to tell you what to do. Somebody said, I know something similar happened in Sri Lanka. See, I'm not making this stuff up. Y'all do what you want to do. You grown. The one thing I do is I always like to give information, but I don't try to argue with people over it. Because see, here's the truth. By the time the truth comes out, you'll know and I will know. When I was evacuating, long before they said evacuate, people was wondering, where are you going? I'm bouncing. I'm getting me and Nancy up out of here. I'm from the hood. When I hear something, man, I'm bouncing. I don't sit around waiting. Are you hearing what I'm saying? I'm gone. I'm out. So here's what I would do with this information. What I would actually do with it, well, number one, I would just, even if you only had an extra $100 in your savings account or something, well, guess what? They're not paying you interest on it anyway. And again, I'm not a financial advisor, so I'm not giving you financial advice. I ain't telling you what to do. I'm just saying, what if it was you? What if it was me? Here's what I would do. Even if I only had $100, well, $100 go a long way if the banks collapse and you only had $100 and you can feed your family with $100. Well, guess what? I can go to a grocery store and I can barter with cash to buy some top ramen noodles. They only like 10 or 15 cents a pack. I can get me some bologna. I don't have to get the bougie bologna. I can get the 99-cent bologna and go to the dollar store. Well, it's actually inflation. Thanks to inflation, it's not a dollar store no more. It's $1.25. Even though we call it the Dollar Tree, it ain't a Dollar Tree no more. It's $1.25. See, you see how things snuck up on you? You see how that worked? Oh, it's just transitory. Don't worry about it. And it snuck up on you. Now you ain't even got a dollar store no more. It's $1.25 store. But that's okay. It's just an extra quarter. So I got $100. What can I do with $100? So I can get me some noodles. I can feed my family with noodles. I can definitely get to pack some beans. Beans are very cheap, and some rice. Okay, it may not be everybody's favorite food, but it's something to eat. Come on, thank you, Jesus. I can get a loaf of bread for $1.25. And there you go. At the dollar store, I can get a loaf of bread, and that'll cost $1.25. I can get a pack of bologna for $1.25. They do have a little freezer section, a food section. Okay, that's $1.25. So I just spent $2.50, and that gives me a loaf of bread and at least 10 sandwiches about that thing. You see how I can stretch that money because I have cash on hand. And let's just say, for the sake of argument, man, Uncle P, you crazy, dude. You tripping, bro. What kind of thing? Nancy must have did something to you, man. She must have put some special seasoning in the food because you tripping, bro. You normally don't do videos like this. So, man, what's up with you, bro? Okay, let's just say, for the sake of argument, what if Uncle P is wrong? What if I'm completely wrong, even though all this is information that is literally online for you to see for yourself now, for those who are willing to look? But here's the truth. What if I'm wrong? Well, here's the good news. Rice is rice. You can eat it. Beans is beans. Make some chili beans with it. You understand what I'm saying? If you too bougie to eat that bologna and cheese and you say, well, I don't want it, okay, give it to the neighbor. Give it to the poor. There's plenty of poor people out who's hungry. What if you had this money and you took it out the bank, which they weren't paying you interest on your money anyway, so it wasn't like it was a harm or foul by having cash on hand. See, if they was paying you 2, 3, 4, 5, 10% interest on your money by having it parked in the bank, okay, now you're losing money because you're not getting paid interest on your investment. But they're not paying you interest on your investment anyway. So what difference does it make whether you parked it in the bank or whether you parked it in a safe place in your house? What difference did it make? But what if I'm completely wrong? No problem. Here's what you can do. Take that money out, put it back in the bank when you feel safe and comfortable. It's always there. It's yours. You can move it in and out, possibly, whenever you want. For an example, I tried to move money through one of these popular apps, and guess what they said now? Oh, no, you're limited. You can't move too much money through us no more. Interesting. Are you hearing what I'm saying, people? I'm giving you heads up because I just want you to do your own due diligence and not go by what you're seeing, because many of you have a family to protect. And the writing is right there on the wall. Go to your charts and look at what's happening with the S&P 500. Did I not tell you guys at the height for my students? Did I not say over and over and over again? Over and over and over again. Just because I'm a black guy with a baseball hat don't mean I'm stupid. But I looked at the charts live in class with you guys. Did I not show you that? That was when they were at their ultimate high, and I said something is wrong. I said there's no way possible that this market should be this high, creating brand new all-time highs when we were in COVID. Are you hearing what I'm saying? We were in COVID. Nobody was working. Where are these companies coming through with all this phenomenal profits when people were in lockdown? How do you make profits when people were in lockdown? Now, I do understand, and I told my wife in advance, I said, as soon as that lockdown hit, I said, I already going to tell you who's the biggest companies that going to make the most money. I said, Amazon is going to be one of them, and I named off a couple of them. Guess what? Record profits. They've never seen it before. Why? Because everybody can still shop and do their business with them while they were at home. But these locations where you had to physically go out and do business with them, how is they reporting record earnings when they didn't even have people working? And I told you guys then, I said, check your 401ks, your IRAs. I said, I'm not a financial advisor. I ain't giving you financial advice, but I said, if it was show doggone Uncle P, I said, I'd definitely be looking into doing some kind of protection on my 401k IRA in case the market collapsed. And I said that when the market was at its ultimate high. It wasn't even about a month or so later where the market started falling, and it hasn't returned to its high since. Oh, and by the way, just so you'll know, I ain't making this crap up. Jamie Dimon, who's Jamie Dimon, Uncle P? Jamie Dimon is the head over one of the largest banks in the U.S. called J.P. Morgan Chase. He was just interviewed about a week and a half ago, and he even admitted that the markets and everybody's looking for the bottom. And students that, oh my God, Jesus, why am I talking about all this? This was not supposed to be this video. You know what? Here, let me say something to you guys real quick about this. Oftentimes, this is why I'm glad I'm not a preacher, man, but when God has given me information, I just try to share it for whoever wants it. But I taught literally in last week's class, students, did I not teach you about what's called a dead cat bounce? And I told you a dead cat bounce is when the market bounces, even though it's still dead in the water. It's still going to go down, but you have these moments where it just shoots up and have a happy kind of day or a happy couple of days, and then it drops right back down. They call that a dead cat bounce because the cat is dead, but it's just bouncing around. If you ever seen a cat who got ran over, it'll bounce up. And I literally, unfortunately, about 10 years ago, I seen this, and it still horrifies me to this day, where a cat got ran over and its head got smashed, but the body still reacted. So the cat literally leaped up in the air and before slapping back down on the concrete, and it was still jerking around. And that's what they call a dead cat bounce. It's dead, but it's still jerking around as if it's still alive because it doesn't know it's dead. Are you hearing what I'm saying? Oh God, I'm trying to help you. I am trying to help you. And so what happened is I told you guys, I said, man, I'm looking at a trade on this S&P 500. I said, if this thing bounces right here, and literally it went a little further down, but then it did a dead cat bounce and it shot up. And then guess what? Turn around, and I'm looking right at the charts. I wish you guys, right there. See? Dead cat. See? Jumped up, shot all the way up, and then what happened right afterwards? Right there. Shot right back down. Dead cat bounce. Go to your charts, S&P 500. Go to a 4-hour time frame. We literally broke that down in class, that setup, didn't we? Literally. In class last week, we talked about it. And I'm warning you guys. As I did then, I said that something is wrong. And when the Feds had to start putting out the fire of inflation, what happened was, they had to start raising interest rates, which means every one of those companies who were receiving profits, and here's where, in my humble opinion, where their profits came from, they were getting that STEMI checks. You remember that? STEMI checks. Well, you thought you got a STEMI check. Imagine what the corporations were getting to help keep them afloat during the COVID crisis. They were getting huge amounts of money in STEMI, but they did have to pay it back. But it was at that time when they got the money, it was at very low interest. Now that the Feds are having to, hey, we got to raise interest rates. What happened to the money they have to pay back? Oh my goodness. All them profits that they had that they were claiming were actually not real profits. Derek said it was corporate welfare. There you go. You got it. So now they got to pay the money back, but the higher the interest rate goes, the higher their money has to go. In other words, the amount of money I got to pay back is higher than, you understand? And if I keep running my business off of debt, I borrowed money back then dirt cheap. But if I continue to need to borrow money to keep afloat, it's not at the same interest rate. So now I can't hide and sneak and prove and say, oh, we have record highs when we really don't. Because now chicken has come to roost. Let me be honest with you guys. Y'all really know this is really creepy, and I'm sitting here thinking about this. My thumbnail team, I have a husband and wife thumbnail team, and I sent them information, and they were supposed to have the thumbnail for the actual topic I was supposed to be talking about today. And this is the first time, and I've been working with them for a couple of years. This is the first time that they haven't had it ready in time for my video. So I improvised and said, well, I'll just use this one. And lo and behold, I had no idea. I wasn't prepared to talk about all this, but I think somebody out there needs to know this information. God works in mysterious ways. What I had planned was totally different. I wasn't even going to plan on talking about all this with y'all. I don't even like talking about this stuff with people, because most of the people don't believe you anyway. The other half, they don't do nothing with the information. The third part, they just, you know, hey, you know how people do. You trying to speak game and they say, you crazy. All right. But then there's that one person who may be out there where God says, speak the truth, because it's going to be a person out there who's going to make some decisions, and they're going to actually hear you, and they're going to be able to take action today before the crisis. I have to say potential crisis. I ain't prophetic. I ain't no preacher man, none of that. But before a crisis, potential crisis happens, they're going to listen to you, and they're going to take action, and it's going to help to protect their family. And that's who I'm looking for. I don't know who you are. I don't need to know your personal business. But if I'm talking to you, I am warning you. I don't care if you don't even have a lot of money. Sometimes to protect your family, you don't need a lot of money. You just need to get the bare minimums, dry goods and stuff like that, store it up. So in case there's a crisis, you were already prepared. Now, am I one of those preppers? Oh, no, absolutely not. I'm not a prepper either. But I do believe in preparations when I see a storm coming. See, when Hurricane Ian came through, I was already kicking it in Atlanta. And then I left from Atlanta and I went to Ohio and hung out there. So the whole time the storm was happening here, and there's still towns that's underwater here. But while the whole storm was happening, Uncle P was already hanging out in Atlanta, chilling. And then we drove from Atlanta and I went on up to Cincinnati and hung out there. See, I was on vacation. I just told my wife, let's treat it like a vacation. I went on vacation. Meanwhile, the ones, and there were some poor people, which I hate that part. Some people say, well, why didn't people evacuate? Some people are too poor. They can't do what I did. And I get that. But there were others who said, nah, man, I'm chilling, bro. I'm going to ride it out. And now they're crying on TV, talking about how they got wiped out and this and that. And they almost fear for their life. Well, you could have left, but you chose not to. Well, I done been through many storms. And I heard people talk, well, I done been through many storms. I think we'll be all right. They told me this. This is what they told me. Well, I've been through many storms. I will be all right. And some were, but a lot of them wasn't. You give me a warning and I can verify that this is a problem, I'm going to take action today. I'm not going to play around. And this video is for those who are hearing what I'm saying. There's a crisis on the way. Just think about it. Think about this. I'll leave you with this. Kelvin said, I learned that from Katrina. He said, never again. See, there you go. See, I don't make this stuff up. I share, but I ain't making stuff up. I'm too grown and too old to sit here and make stuff up. I don't do things just to get likes and this and that, which, by the way, I will appreciate if you did click the like button and share button, only because it allows YouTube's algorithm to say, okay, people did like this information, and they'll choose to share it out with more people because more people need to hear this information. That's the only reason why. But as far as, I don't even have a personal page like that. Personal social media, I don't do all that. I don't need people to click the like button to make me feel good about myself. I like me. But let me give you a closure on this. Because again, this was not even in the cards for my discussion today. I was supposed to come on here, talk about news events, and talk about our success last week, which we did. We did close to 20,000 pips last week between the signals and between Miss Jenny's scalping group. By the way, real quick, for just so I can say I did it, news events this week, I did take a look at all the news that's coming up this week as far as what they have scheduled. And I did not see a lot of information. But here's what my concern is. I see that Belarus is now joining the war against Ukraine, okay? And that missiles have been moved close to those regions, okay? Now, if they encroach upon NATO area, NATO will have no choice than to engage into this war. And if that happens, which there's a strong possibility of that, look at the news. Your government just bought nuclear war pills. I forgot what they call, some kind of pills for in case of a nuclear war. They can take radiation pills or something. They just purchased a bunch of millions of dollars worth or something like that. Look that up yourself for more details. I didn't linger long enough to read the full report on that, but they did recently. That's like you saying, you know what, I don't have sex, but I'm going to get some birth control. So, did you hear what I said? Some ain't adding up. Okay. Oh, no, It's not going to really happen. He's just bluffing about the nuclear and this and that. Meanwhile, you over here buying millions of dollars of nuclear pills. That's like saying, no, I'm celibate, but you chumping on anti-pregnancy pills on a daily basis. Story ain't adding up. So just imagine that you have NATO, which will include the US, having to get involved in the war. Oh, which, by the way, last night, and this is not even being talked about, they just sent troops over to Haiti. So now we're already engaged in a semi-war over there. This not even in the news. I just saw it last night. And I have researched over and over again. Yeah, they are. Haiti is going crazy. And so we just launched troops over there, or sending troops over there. So we're engaging in a war over there. And now you end up over here with NATO in this fight. And then you've got the banks who are going broke. And then you add in the feds who is actually negative on their balance sheet, which means the feds are broke. Now you add all that collectively together, and what kind of conclusion do you come out with? So is it just a black guy with a baseball hat, or something ain't adding up? I'll leave you guys with this. Spend time before God in prayer. Here's what I do believe. I'm trying to cut down on worry. Okay, and I'll leave you with this. This is really where I'm at. I'm trying to cut down on worry because everywhere you turn, there's just nothing but bad news. Okay, nothing but bad news. Everywhere you turn, it's just bad news everywhere. And I don't want to be a person who lives in fear. Okay, because you'll never have a moment of enjoyment. Like today is a beautiful day and it's just beautiful outside. I want to enjoy the turn. Hold on, somebody said, I'm tired of all these wars and rumors. Hold on, let me see. Let them nuke the whole world already and make everybody rest. I heard that. I want to be informed so that I can take preemptive actions to protect me and my family in case things go wrong. If things do not go wrong, then we're fine. If they do go wrong, I was already prepared. So now I can live in more peace because I prepared. Preparation equals peace to me. Okay? Preparation equals peace. An example, when they said that Ian was here, when the storm actually came through, I was on communication with friends and neighbors here, but I was already out of the storm. Do you hear what I'm saying? I was completely out of the way. I was already at peace. We were enjoying each other. We went to different locations. We hung out with people we see and this and that. Okay. So here goes this dude. I'm going to have to block this, ban this person. There you go. Hold on one second, y'all. Let me hide this person from my channel. Okay, there you go. There you go. Somebody's trying to put some spam on here. Y'all see why I don't take comments on my videos no more? Y'all probably can't see this now. Somebody trying to post adult websites on while I'm talking about how to save your family. You see how disrespectful people are? This is crazy, man. I'm telling you, people. That's why I don't take comments on my channel, because I got tired of all this every video. Every video is a scam and a spam. That's why I turned the comments off. Only here on the feed, while I'm doing the video, I do comments. Other than that, I don't take comments. That's why. It wasn't that I was trying to hide or anything else. It's just stupid stuff like this. So I apologize for pausing, but that's what happened. Somebody was trying to put adult porn sites on the feed. Golly. Anyway, the point is, people, do your own homework. Spend quiet time before God. Ask him for a preparation plan. Because again, you don't have to be wealthy to be prepared. Okay? I don't care if you have an extra $100 or every time you get paid, you set aside $50. Because again, you don't have to be a bougie eater. There's plenty of canned goods for 50 cents. Peas you can get for 50 cents. This and that. And you can just, and I ain't saying go crazy on it. I'm just saying, but what if? Because literally all over the place, there's bad news everywhere that's telling you something bad is on its way. And there's no way we can put out all of these fires all at the same time. You can put out an economic fire and work on that. And then you can put out a social issue fire and then get rid of that. And then you got political chaos going on right now. But then that's one fire. And then possibility of World War III is sitting over here. But then you bunch them all together. Any one of these is all it takes to trigger the rest of them. Do you hear what I'm saying? Because normally we have one at a time. Now we have them all at the same time. And it's the grace of God that nothing has happened yet. And so what I'm asking you to do is just sit quiet before God and say, God, what is a plan that I can do to take care of my family in case of this? And he'll give you a strategy. You don't have to take my word for it. Just ask him for a strategy. Lord, I don't have a lot right now, but what can I do? And then when that strategy comes, you take action and you do what you must. One of the biggest things is don't try to ball out right now. I'm not in the mood to try to go buy me a new car. I'm not in the mood to do, no, this is just not the right time for this. In fact, here's what the rich people are actually doing. You want to know what they're doing? Look this up for yourself. A lot of them had already pulled out of the stock market exactly when I told you. The Warren Buffetts, the Bill Gates and so forth, they had sold all of their stuff at the height of the market, right when I was telling you guys about this. That's when they sold it. That's when I knew something was wrong. They were pulling completely out. Warren Buffett was dumping stock like crazy, but then he bought a gold company, not gold, but a gold company. He was investing in hard assets, but they was doing what they call putting money, moving their stuff to cash. In other words, they were sitting and just waiting for the collapse to happen. And then when all this hell gets done breaking loose and everything that's left, whatever is of value, they can come back and buy it for pennies on the dollar. That's how investors do. That's why they're so wealthy. Meanwhile, you're buying these Louis Vuitton purses and these Gucci this and that, trying to make yourself look like you're important. And meanwhile, the rich who are really important, they ain't worrying nothing about them names. And they're storing their cash on the sidelines, using wisdom with it, saying, okay, I know a collapse is happening. I may not publicly say it because I don't want to get scrutinized, but guess what? I know it's going to come. And so they pull their money, they sit on the sidelines and wait. And when all the hell is broken loose, they come back in and they buy up all this stuff for pennies on the dollar. Let me leave you with an example of that. Years and years and years ago, back in 2008, 2009, when there was that collapse, many of you guys remember that. Guess what happened? And I was working at Bank of America at that time because I used to manage their property portfolio. Bank of America would not be in existence if it wasn't for Warren Buffett. I was working there when it happened. They were going under a financial collapse. Warren Buffett came in sitting on billions of dollars. He loaned them billions of dollars and bought up a lot of the Bank of America stock. And when it was like, I think it was like $8 or $9 a share back then. And he had the cash. Why? Because he had a plan. So when the crisis was happening, he was rubbing his hands together saying, opportunity. And so therefore, they was turning to whoever they could because the government couldn't bail them out enough and this and that. And so they turned to Warren Buffett. Warren Buffett infused all this money and saved the Bank of America. And then when Bank of America went from $7, I forgot what it was back then. It was real low, their shares, and then it moved back up in price. Then guess what? Warren Buffett made a boatload of money and control over companies. Why do you think he owns so many companies? He don't buy them at their height. He waits till they're close to collapse, and then he buy them for pennies on the dollar. That's how the man is so rich and owns so many companies. He bails them out if they have value, but only when the crisis happens. If it works for him, why would it not work for you and your family? That red bottom purse and all these different things, when all hell break loose, guess what happens? These companies are going to have to, a lot of them are going to be closing. At that point, you can get the same exact item for half the price. Why? You got the cash. And they are in an emergency situation. Store closing soon. Everything must go. And the same item, it's the same one. But now they got to discount it by 70%, 75%, 80%. Why? Because they are in an emergency situation and you were sitting on cash using wisdom and you came in and you scooping for pennies on the dollar. That's the Warren Buffett way of trading and doing business. And that's what I'm working on. Okay? All right. Hope you liked this video. If you did, Thank you very much. Please hit the like and subscribe button, and please share this video with whoever needs to hear it. Because again, this is not a video about trading. If you want to trade, again, normally I do videos on trading, which I'll put out another content video later on this week, possibly in the middle of some trades, so you guys can see some trades. But today, I really wanted to share some real solid information so that you guys can at least prepare in case of a crisis. You don't want to wait till the crisis happens, because then everybody's moving at the same time, herd mentality, and the resources may not be available. If everybody's running to the store to try to get something, this is why when you, during crisis, as you see everybody at the store in long lines, guess what? Now they done run out of supplies and everything else, and you sitting there and waiting your turn when you could have went a week earlier, got anything you wanted with no wait. Don't be the fool. All right? Cha-ching, cha-ching. I'll see y'all in the next video.